Well, you can see where this is going now, with De'Aaron Fox inking that 4-year extension, locking him up for the next 5 total years. There have been countless questions about the Spurs rotation moving forward, especially a couple of years from now, and with the emergence of Stephon Castle, with talented young rookie Dylan Harper coming in, these guys being at the forefront of the guard conversation. There is one Spur whose name has come to the forefront of all these discussions as being a very likely candidate to be forced out. We have to talk about Devin Vassell, a recent article highlighting this, but it's not just that to get into today. There was a great segment on ESPN that is actually painting the Spurs in a much nicer picture than I think a lot of other people would have thought. Wonderful stuff coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest, but hey, quick reminder, we're less than 500 subscribers away from 10,000. Thank you all, yes, you, for being here watching these videos every single day. It's hard to keep the daily content going, but we do it for you guys, because you deserve it. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start with this, though. The Hoop Collective crew talks up San Antonio as a city and free agent destination. Pardon. Thank you for saying this. I mean, look, there's been so much hype around Wemby and stuff. You know, we got the stuff about Giannis praising him, wanting a Wemby rookie card. Giannis has been talking a lot of hype about Wemby. We're not going to revisit that just yet, but oh my goodness, the fact that we're even hearing this from some mainstream stuff on the Hoop Collective is unbelievable. Quote, San Antonio has more going for it than people give it credit for. Amen. Absolutely. It's very much a growing city. The next superstar that becomes available will consider the Spurs. Now, that one there, look, I mean, let's be honest, that's pretty speculative. We don't know who that free agent is. But absolutely, San Antonio got more going for it than people give it credit for. Look, it was the subject of jokes for years. Then the boring play, the beautiful game Spurs. Those of you who actually like watching basketball love the Spurs. Those of you who maybe like the drama of the NBA, Spurs didn't have much of it. Too bad, so sad. But look, I get it, right? You know, it's not the LA or New York City, but San Antonio is a huge city, and there's so much to it. The city is so wonderful. And again, when you look at this young core and you look at the future of this team, what player would not want to play with other guys here? You can be whatever style of player you want. Hey, ideally, if a big free agent comes up that's an elite shooter that's willing to play second, third fiddle here to some of these guys, that could be massive for the Spurs. Or, you know, just a straight up superstar. I don't know. But who wouldn't want to play with Wemby? That's the thing now. These players are like, especially like recently with Giannis, we're here and just absolutely love watching him. LeBron has talked endlessly about him. It's not just Wemby. Again, of course, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and even now 5 more years of De'Aaron Fox and some of these other names as well. Carter Bryant, one of these guys. It's a perfect time to be any archetype of player to come in here and have your skills complemented by some of the Spurs players here. And again, with the payroll, like, there's not going to be a ton of free money to just go out and sign free agents. And again, the second apron stuff is making things more complicated. Free agency itself is becoming a lot different than it used to be. There's not many teams that just straight up have the liquid cash to go sign a max deal in free agency, and I don't really anticipate the Spurs being in a position to do so. But regardless, sign-in trades are still a thing. You can trade for the rights of players, just like we did for De'Aaron Fox, right? We didn't have to go get him in free agency because we might not have had the liquid cash to do it. Instead, we trade for him. He gets his preferred destination. We pay less than market value for him, and then he re-signs here. That's kind of what we're seeing a lot more now, and it's a very real possibility that San Antonio could be in on these big free agents. When you look at how players are talking about the Spurs, it's unbelievably exciting. So this is just some hype heading into this season, but unfortunately, look, not all the talk right now is about hype. And I know there's a lot of people who don't love the De'Aaron Fox extension. I love it. We make that clear. I don't mind if you disagree. Of course, I totally understand the downside to the extension, but I love the extension. But again, I think it paints a very clear picture. Because again, if we look at this payroll, there's a lot of money that's going to have to come out of the Spurs' pockets over the coming seasons. Again, replacement for Harrison Barnes, replacement for Kelly Olynyk, extension for Jeremy Sochan, and that's just for after this upcoming season. But there's one contract there, and that's Devin Vassell. And actually, you know, we're going to talk about this on the channel today anyway. But, you know, when an article comes out an hour before recording that also talks about this, I got to give credit. I mean, Air Alamo posts some fantastic stuff. We are not affiliated. Just want to make that clear for any of you that wonder. I just like checking out Air Alamo like a lot of you guys do. This is linked down below from Will Udy, and please go check it out because I'm not going to spoil the article. I want you to go check it out yourself. But Vassell leaving the Spurs more plausible after De'Aaron Fox's extension. And my take was basically this. And again, I think you can see the writing on the wall. And we were saying this when we first acquired De'Aaron Fox. We've been saying this all off season, and then especially with the draft pick of Dylan Harper, it just feels real now, right? And I'm not saying Vassell's a bad player. I actually think he's, well, I mean, obviously I'm not saying that. Who would think I'm saying that? Duh. But he still brings a lot to this team, and he's going to be a starter this year. I mean, I think it'd be crazy if he didn't start at the 3 this year. And again, his shooting is still something that is extremely valuable to this team, a team that does lack shooting to some extent. And it's something that, we want to improve on in the next coming years. But 37% from 3 last year, he can absolutely get back up to between 38 and 40. I'm confident in that with a season that's not marred by a foot injury again, right? And again, with him and Harrison Barnes and Kelly Olynyk and even Julian Champagnie and hopefully an improved Castle and Fox getting back to where he was, the shooting woes are not going to be as bad as we think. That's my opinion. But regardless, Vassell brings a lot to this team. But, and that's always what it is, right? But when you look at the future, as me and Keenan talked about yesterday, and the truth behind the De'Aaron Fox signing video that I suggest you go check out, if anything, just for the laser eyes we put on De'Aaron Fox, it's that the future 1 through 3 of the Spurs is something we have to start considering. Because when you look at De'Aaron Fox, at least for the next 5 years, Fox, Castle, Harper, barring a De'Aaron Fox trade, because again, that's so far in the future, I don't even really want to think about that. If Dylan Harper emerges as a legit star-level talent, which I think a lot of us think he will, then you don't want to keep him coming off the bench. I know he's worked a bit with Manu, though Manu is not going to be a permanent coach for this team. I saw that today. He's going to be doing other stuff. He's here just on a volunteer basis, but regardless, if Harper wants to take anything after Manu and just be that amazing sixth man that just makes this team a dynasty, hey, that'd be awesome. But I can't expect him to do that. I can't go expecting Dylan Harper to just channel my favorite player of all time and just be like, you know what? Yeah, cool. I'm just going to be like a star level player, an all NBA level player, but I'm just going to play off the bench for you guys. It'd be cool if he did, but I don't expect him. So what comes next then? As we fix the browser source here in the bottom, there we go. We got that back. But what comes next then? So what I'm envisioning is De'Aaron Fox, same thing as Keenan, Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper running that 1 through 3 in some order. Maybe Harper is the point guard, Fox is the shooting guard, Castle is the small forward. And in this era of small ball, a guy like Castle, who is like 6'5", 6'6", he can play the 3. Like, that's not really a problem. Again, the shooting is a bit of an issue with those 3, but I want to give it a couple years before I say that, Harper, Castle, Fox is going to be horrible at shooting in 3-4 years, because I think that's a bit of a projection. Like, I don't want to say that they're all going to be bad, because they could very well improve. Castle and Harper both have the great mechanics, and Fox, hey, again, he has a 38% three-point shooting season under his belt, shooting 8 threes a game. So I think Fox, Castle, Harper, in this era of small ball, you can absolutely run 3 guys who can handle the ball at the 1 through 3, just like we saw OKC do a bit in the finals. Not even so much OKC as much as Indiana, right? With Halliburton, with Nesmith, and with what's his name, Nembhard, right? Those 3 guys all together, pretty small backcourt, but it worked, right? 1 through 3. So with that in mind, and with that small forward position potentially, again, in the future being occupied by the incumbent rookie of the year, Stephon Castle, where does Devin Vassell land? $27 million in a few years is not that bad for your bench small forward, but you also have guys like Keldon Johnson and Carter Bryant coming up through the wings as well. So, I made this video about Devin Vassell, but I think it could equally, to some extent, apply to Keldon Johnson. And again, he plays more of a power forward role, which is why I think, he could fill in that, we got Barnes and Olynyk leaving this offseason. Maybe they'll re-sign. Who knows? That'd be nice. But, those are not long-term solutions. Keldon Johnson could slide over to the 4 and occupy that role behind Sochan if we need him to. I don't think that's plan A, but it could very well work, right? Whereas Vassell, it's like he's almost stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got the point guard and shooting guard. He's like, well, hey, I'm probably not going back to shooting guard anytime soon. Maybe some spot minutes, but I can't really move up to the 4. I'm kind of pegged in as a 3. Then we got Carter Bryant coming up behind me, and we're going to need some money for a lot of our guys like Wemby, like Castle, like Dylan Harper, like Carter Bryant in a few years, like Sochan. It just feels like he's the odd man out. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because I still like Devin Vassell. And he has great defensive upside. We knew that from the start, but also, like, he still provides a ton of value to this team in the current moment. So I still like him on the team. But as we look at it, it's just like, something's got to give, man. One of these guys, this team is not going to be the exact same roster this time next year. I would be shocked, right? One of these guys that we consider a nice, important part of this team is probably going to be gone. And my thought just happens to be, like, it's probably going to be Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Are you thinking the same thing? Do you see them both as long-term Spurs? Do you see something else happening? Maybe Harper taking a bench role, maybe moving Fox instead? I'd love to hear from you. But that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. We're so close to 10K. Really appreciate you showing up every single day. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.